Consent. It's simple as ramen. If you're still struggling, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making a cup of ramen. If you ask them, hey, you want some ramen? And they say, yes, I'd love some ramen, then you'd know that they do indeed want the ramen. However, if you ask them, hey, do you want some ramen? And they kind of and they say, well, I'm not really sure. Then, if you want, you can make them the ramen, but keep in mind, when it comes down to it, they might not want to eat the ramen. You can't force it to them. This is the important part. If they say no, just do not make them eat the ramen. You cannot force them to eat the ramen. You can't force them to eat it. You can't get mad at them for not wanting to eat the ramen after you've made it. They just don't want the ramen. If someone says no in the first place, then just don't make the ramen in the first place. Don't make them eat it. They just don't want ramen. However, they also might say, yes please, I'd like some ramen. And at the point that the ramen actually arrives, they change their mind and say they don't want the ramen at all. And yes, that's kind of annoying after you've gone to all the effort of making the ramen, after you've poured the water in and boiled the water, stirred it up, made it the perfect texture, but over time they may be less interested in ramen. If someone is unconscious, don't make them eat the ramen. Unconscious people don't want ramen. They can't answer the question, do you want ramen? Because they're unconscious. However, if someone says yes or they're conscious, and then while you are making the ramen, they become unconscious, you still cannot force them to eat the ramen. Unconscious people do not want ramen. Do not make them eat the ramen if they're unconscious, as they cannot eat it. Just check they're safe, and do not feed them the ramen. I repeat, unconscious people cannot have ramen. Even if they were conscious then, and are unconscious now, that does not mean that they want ramen anymore, even if they wanted it then. Now they're unconscious, they cannot eat the ramen. Do not continue feeding it to them. Unconscious people do not want ramen. Now, if someone's dead, also do not give them ramen. As a rule of thumb, dead people never want ramen. It is a very bad idea to do this. Trust me on this one. If someone says yes at one point, and now they are dead, then you cannot continue to give them the ramen if they have died. That is not okay. Dead people cannot eat, and dead people do not want ramen. On a similar note, do not feed ramen to animals, even if you are Welsh. If one day they say they want ramen, that does not mean that several days after that they will still want ramen. You cannot go to their house with ramen, have it already, and then force them to eat it. Just because they wanted ramen earlier does not mean that they still want ramen. Also, if someone was earlier eating ramen and they fell asleep, that does not mean the next day they will still want ramen. Sleeping people also do not want ramen. So keep in mind, if someone says no, they do not want ramen. It's the same with sex. Consent is everything, whether it's sex or ramen.